We're on 17, Ordinance 151141, an ordinance amending Title III, Chapter 21, Section 2 of the Oaklawn Village Code pertaining to an increase in the village's electrical utility tax rates. And may I have a motion on 17, please?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by Trustee Oliniechek.
Second.
Seconded by Trustee Carberry. Any discussion?
Yes, Mayor.
Trustee Straight.
Okay. Well, first of all, this tax increase is exorbitant. This increases the tax on electricity, as the one resident obviously understood, by a whopping 374%. For an administration that claims that they do not want to increase property taxes, this is disingenuous. This is the equivalent of a 10% increase in property taxes. This is a hidden tax increase. And this type of increase really hits people on a fixed income very hard. And unlike property taxes, it's not tax deductible. There's been no plan presented on the need for this increase to the Board of Trustees. And finally, this administration has demonstrated they are not good stewards of our tax dollars and should not be provided these additional funds of, on electricity, $1.3 million increase.
Yeah, Mayor?
Trustee Stalker.
Yeah, I took some time to ask some of the utilities what the effect would be on electric bills, and I think that it demonstrates what the effect would be on gas bills as well, because the percentage increases are about the same. When you have a small, medium, or large-sized residence, your increase is going to be from about $1.50 to $4 a month. I don't like that tax increase because I'm going to pay it too. But I really hate two things. One is an increase in property taxes, which I will not support. And I also dislike the idea that when we go through a budget process, we're trying to decide whether to do sidewalks or streets or do some of the other things that the village was supposed to be doing and is supposed to be doing and is trying to do on a daily basis. Now, when you talk about an increase on a residence that's between $1.50 and $5 a month, and then you compare that to what happens to a large business that will have their tax increased about $1,000 to $2,000 a month, that makes me realize that we are not hurting the residents, and I hope we're not hurting the businesses. Those businesses are making money even though they're paying bills in excess of $800,000 a month. And I think it's a small enough increase that it's a way to find money to fix our sidewalks and streets, and therefore I support it.
Thank you. Trustee Vorder.
Yeah, first off, had the trustee from the 3rd District attended the legal and ordinance meetings where this was all discussed, he would have
Public Works.
understand all the details involved in this, but he did not attend. One of the things this tax dollars will be used and has to be used is for infrastructure. That was very clear in the discussions here. This additional tax will repair the streets and the sidewalks of the village of Oaklawn. When this board came in, we had to deal with some pension deficit, and we still are. We have some major deficit, and we increased our contributions, correct me if I'm wrong, Mayor or Larry, from $1.5 million to $5 million the last couple of years. That increase came out of our infrastructure monies, and that has to be replaced. Otherwise, we end up with streets with potholes and no money to fix them. So I come to this board willing to vote this increase, understanding these dollars will go to my streets and my sidewalks. And that's all I have to say, Mayor. Thank you.
Not just District 4, though.
Yeah, well, the village of Oaklawn is my district. So.
Thank you. Any other discussion?
Madam Mayor?
Trustee Oliniechek.
It was the Public Works Committee that fully vetted this whole thing, and I do want to thank Trustee Stalker, but prior to him becoming a trustee, he actually came to the meeting in which we were vetting the positives and the negatives. And one of the things that a trustee to the left of me said that this administration does not want to increase property taxes. You're 100% correct. This isn't hidden. This is a fair share across the board tax increase. Nobody wants a tax increase. Nobody wants to go through it. Nobody wants to do it. But people still want to make sure that our streets are kept up, that our alleys are kept up, that our sidewalks are kept up, and our infrastructure is kept up. And sitting in our budgetary meetings, and trustee, one of the trustees here said that there was no defined plan for what this money would be used for. Well, actually, in our budgetary process, we challenged staff to come up with a 5-year process and a 5-year plan of the things that need to be done. And what we've learned with streets and with infrastructure and with sidewalks, you can choose not to do it this year, you can choose not to do it next year, but you can't choose not to do it 3 years or 4 years down the road. And for 29 years, this village did not pay enough into the streets, into the infrastructure, and we just got caught up with the Build America bonds, which was a progressive program that we as a board came together to make up for the infrastructure that was falling apart, which is recognized. Our staff has done a great job at identifying the programs and the things that we're going to attack with it, with this extra money. And actually, Brian, how much is the total money that this is going to raise towards our streets and infrastructure?
These two taxes will raise
$2.5 million. That if you were paying attention in our budgetary meetings, we reduced our streets by that amount of money, hoping that this winter wasn't going to be as cold and as bad as it was. And unfortunately, we did have another cold and bad winter. So to say that we don't know that we need streets and infrastructure, I challenge you to drive your district. I challenge you to look at the district sidewalks to tell us that we don't need to do this, because it's not just one district, it's throughout the whole village. And this money that we're going to raise specifically from this utility increase is 110% only for infrastructure. It doesn't go towards anything else. Correct, staff?
Correct.
So it's not to do any other balancing of any other budgets. It's to continue to address our infrastructure, and that money's earmarked for it on a 5-year progressive plan, which you guys have already started to design. So to say that you don't know what it's going to, I think is irresponsible. To say that we claim that we do not want to increase property tax, you're 1,000% correct. We don't want to increase property tax, and you could try to make
Let's
the numbers
not
look.
direct any one person, please.
People can make the numbers look any way that they want, but you, Trustee Stalker, I commend you for doing your homework, because you do understand that people who use more electricity, like businesses and hospitals, they're going to pay a higher percentage than a resident is going to pay for this. So I am happy that we work together to continue building the infrastructure in the village of Oak Lawn.
I just want to make a further comment about that.
Yes, sir.
The principle I was trying to get out is that this isn't a large increase. This is a very small increase of about 1% on the total electric bill, especially for residential customers. What happens, though, is a company that's doing well pays a large electric bill, and they're perfectly capable of paying 1% more. And that's where we get the strongest benefit out of this increase for both gas and electricity. That's my point.
And Madam Mayor, the final thing I want to go through is we, as a Public Works Committee, truly labored over understanding that there are people out there on fixed incomes, that there are people out there struggling to make it by. To get the same amount of money off of a property tax increase, what would that mean to an individual resident?
Be more than happy to answer that question. First of all, the chart that was in your agenda package is a chart that you've had for 2 years. And I, too, would like to thank Trustee Stalker, who, before being sworn in, attended the Public Works Committee. So there were 6 members on this dais who were at the deliberations of the Public Works Committee when this was discussed. 4, someone who is a 2-family household, seniors, that are using 480 kilowatt hours a month. That'll be $24 and change a year, difference. And for a large single-family home, $47 during the year. However, I want to go back to your December 16th, 2014 report that you received from Arnie Schrammel. Progressive Energy Group, when we did our aggregation, his report gave you the cumulative savings when we undertook this program, average for a home, $293, and for an average apartment savings or a small two household, $141. To Trustee Olenichek's point, it would take 7 years by the change you're going to make tonight, 7 years to make up that savings. So this is investing in your largest community asset: streets, water pipes, sewer pipes, alleys, and sidewalks. That's your largest asset that you're investing in because of a very prudent move this board took in doing aggregate energy. So
But the point I was making, from a tax increase, people are tax exempt. If we did a property tax, they would be exempt from it. People, the average resident, what is the total tax increase in a property tax to gain the same amount of money?
Be about $155.
as opposed to
$155.
24 and as opposed to 47
Right,
for a
and then, so the
single-family
tax
home.
benefit, if you were 35% tax benefit, it'd be about $100, and this is gonna be less than that. These two taxes.
Anyone else need to weigh in on this?
Yes, Mayor. I,
I think Trustee Desmond was about to say something. No? Okay. Trustee Straight, you said you're in opposition to it. I'd like to know how you would.
what new information I have? Is that what you want?
What you'd propose to, certainly new information's welcome. What you'd propose to do to help our infrastructure, where we could get
Well-
that money to do it. So I'd
Well-
like your ideas on that as well.
Well, first of all, thank you, Mayor, for giving me a chance to talk. And there's a lot I'd like to say. And one of the things that I want to say is that this is the kind of discussion that we should be having. A public discussion of an increase and what it's for. I can tell you that when you sit here, when Trustee Vorder or Trustee Olenichek talks about how, we had these meetings. Well, what you did is, after the last meeting, Trustee Carberry mentioned that the Legislative License and Ethics Committee, that they've been meeting. So I went online to look for more information about what they've been meeting about. And I couldn't find the minutes from February, April, or May meetings. Those were all meetings that were held, but there were no minutes. So if the minutes have been approved, why haven't they been posted yet? And if they haven't been
Probably
approved.
working on FOIAs, unfortunately, Trustee Straight.
So there are no meeting, if everything was posted, then it would be easy, Mayor. There are no meeting minutes for any 2015 Legislative License and Ethics Committee meetings online, or anyone else to see what the public has discussed, or for the public to see what was discussed. The last minutes posted for this specific committee is December 16th, 2014. So they have held public meetings for this committee on February 10th, April 28th, May 7th, and May 26th. So my question is, why aren't these meetings held with the full board? Why aren't these meetings televised? Is this how we conduct the public's business? Is this really open and honest government? And the final point I want to make to Trustee Olenichek's comment is about, we don't want to raise property taxes. Well, you've been ignoring a court order that says that we owe the fire department $4.2 million, all right? Now, if you spread that out over any number of years, essentially what you have there is what's called a deferred tax increase. It's dishonest, is what it really is. So, essentially, what you have to start doing is telling the truth about what you're doing. You can't. You sat here for 2 years saying, "Oh, we can't keep kicking the can down the road on pensions," but you're kicking the can down the road on that court ruling, and so.
Madam Mayor, that has nothing to do with the utility tax.
Yes,
Not
I
even
know, and
broadly.
I'm still waiting to hear where the $2.5 million for infrastructure is coming from.
Madam Mayor, I do have, when Trustee Straight's up done with, I do have a couple. of-
Okay, I think our manager might want to say something. I'm not, no?
Oh, no,
Okay.
I do have
Trustee
a-
Straight, your ideas, please?
Well, Mayor, one thing that you did do is you've reduced infrastructure spending in our community over the 2 years you've been mayor
While
to
we
where it's
trip-
almost non-existent.
While we nearly tripled pension contributions for those firefighters and police officers who put their lives on the line every day for us.
Well-
And Trustee Straight, I'm going to ask you to wrap up, and we're going to go on to Trustee Oliniechek.
Well, you know, what you could look at is what we did prior to your service here, and that was how we were able to do in excess of $10 million a
Our
year
own
of
money.
infrastructure. It was
Which
borrowed
caused us to
almost-
get downgraded by Moody's
well,
4
you
out
know
of
what?
the last 5 times. No,
Yeah,
thank you.
actually, it probably has
We
a
don't
lot
need
more
more
to do.
debt.
The downgrade has a lot more to do with your governance than any bonds that were issued to do infrastructure.
Trustee
Mayor.
Straight?
Yeah.
The majority of those downgrades occurred before I even took office.
You know what, David, we've been
And in your
downgraded at least
24
3
years,
times since you've
in
been
your
mayor.
24
I know you don't want to take
years-
why don't you don't want to take
Madam
responsibility?
Mayor,
I
can we
get
get
that.
back
Trustee
to the point at hand?
Oliniechek, please take over. Yes, thank
Well,
you.
My concern is, a trustee in comments said that we've actually reduced the amount of money we put in the streets. That is correct. We did because over 10 years ago, we didn't put any money into the streets. It was about 2 miles per year that we did. And then we had to, is that correct?
Less.
Less than 2 miles per year. So in the whole time that certain trustees have been on board, we weren't meeting up to what we needed to do with infrastructure. Then we saw, and I will never forget, when Lynn Krause explained that we are way behind and we had to come up with a better way, the Build America bonds came up and we were able to put that money to get us caught up. If you go back in the Public Works meeting minutes, which you were part of the Public Works and you claim that there's been no meeting minutes put online, but yet in the blog that you own, the Oak Lawn Leaf, those were online. You put them online and you tell people that they can't find it, but you know where to find it. It's a little bit amazing to me, but the whole time we were working on the Public Works Committee, we knew that we would get the streets to a certain point to where our head is above water. Our head's above water, correct, Jack? Now it's a matter of being able to maintain it about 2.5, 3.5 million after we hit 2016, 2017. Depending,
We did a 10-year plan, which was in a spreadsheet form. We projected out the dollars we should be spending each year, and that's what we've been working from for the past.
And that number should be ballpark between $3 and $4 million a year, and this pool of money is going to be dedicated toward that.
so anybody who's been a trustee for more than 6 months, more than 2 days, could figure out if they really wanted to attend, like a trustee Stalker that came, can regularly figure out if they wanted to attend a Public Works meeting or any one of our committees of the whole. You could go to those meetings if you chose to, and that's the point. The problem is our infrastructure continues to need work. The solution is we need to come up with ways of financing it. And part of the solution is to not increase property taxes and do the least amount of pain that we can to the residents. I think that what we've put together here, based off of everything I've heard, we've achieved all of those, all of them. I don't see how you can sit there and try to state that unless you've got a better solution, I'll personally call you for every Public Works meeting.
Let's not
because
direct each other
You have
personally.
a problem coming to meetings. I'll let you know that the trustee to the left, no, as long as every other trustee, when the Public Works meetings are happening. There's nothing to hide. If you want to know what we're going to do, drive the streets and the sidewalks of the village of Oak Lawn and spend time out in your district.
Okay, let's call the vote,
The other thing, real
please.
quick, Mayor, if I could just, the debt that we used to raise those streets was an opportunity that the IRS gave us to have a subsidy in that particular year. That kind of went away. The other thing is, our plan is to turn these debt payments, which we have a high debt load, into pension payments in 17 and 18. So that's the plan. So these will take care of the infrastructure, and pensions no different than any other debt obligation, it's just longer term. So that's the financial.
Thank you, Brian. Let's call that vote, please.
Trustee Stalker?
Yes.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Trustee Warner?
Yes.
Trustee Straight?
No.
Motion passes 5-1.
Okay, 18 tonight is ordinance 151142, an ordinance amending Title III, Chapter 22 of the Oak Lawn Village Code, entitled Municipal Utility Tax, and Title III, Chapter 23 of the Village Code, entitled Municipal Gas Use Tax. May I have a motion, please, on item 18?
Motion to approve.
Properly moved by trustee Desmond.
Second.
Second by trustee Warder. Any discussion here?
Yes, Mayor.
Trustee Straight.
Thank you. This tax hike is also exorbitant. This increases the tax on natural gas by 388%. Again, for an administration that claims that they don't want to increase property taxes, this is disingenuous. This is the equivalent of a 7.5% increase in property taxes for the general fund. When you combine the two taxes, yes, it is, Larry. When you combine the two taxes, the increase amounts to the equivalent of a 17% increase in property taxes levied for the general fund. It's another example of a hidden tax. And as I said, this type of increase really does hit people hard on a fixed income. I know some people seem to not appreciate that. And unlike property taxes, it is not tax deductible. And again, while it's been stated, oh, we've discussed a plan in committee, no plan has been presented to the Board of Trustees, and most importantly, no plan has been presented to the public.
Yes, Larry?
Thank you, Mayor and Board. I had the opportunity to be in Springfield this morning and meet with the Illinois Municipal League and our new director, Brad Cole. I was there for 911, and I was also there to find out what the status is of the state of Illinois working on closing a $6 billion gap in their budget. And I asked Brad and his staff to give an update, and they asked, how is Oak Lawn doing and what are we doing to locally address these issues? Because certainly the state of Illinois has been struggling, and we've had partisan politics get in the way of closing that gap. When I talked about our agenda for tonight, Brad Cole, a seasoned professional in Illinois in municipal government, saluted Oak Lawn. The tax rate that Trustee Stride is referring to is rock bottom. It hasn't been adjusted for years. In 2007, the administration brought this to the attention of the board and said, infrastructure. It's been ignored. It needs to be addressed. So I salute the board that approved the Build America bonds, and I salute the board tonight that's considering this adjustment in gas and electric. And by the way, these increases still put Oak Lawn below the median for the 200 municipalities in the greater Chicago area and the state of Illinois that do use these taxes to support general operations. In Oak Lawn's case, we're not. We're going to use it for infrastructure, which is fairly novel compared to the other communities that are also addressing this, Skokie, Niles, and I can go on and on. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Mayor?
Any other discussion?
Yes, please.
Trustee Stalker?
I could repeat many of the same things that I said about the electric service increase. This is actually a $1 to $4 increase on a residential customer a month. It is about a 1% increase in their bill or less. It is not hurting the people who, the residential customer, anywhere near as badly as it'll affect the businesses in Oak Lawn. I am not strongly supporting charging businesses more because we need more business. But as I said before, if you have a successful business where you can pay hundreds of thousands of dollars a month in electric service rates, you can afford to pay another $1,000 to help Oak Lawn with their infrastructure. That's all.
Thank you. Any other new comments? Okay,
Mayor.
let's call the vote,
I
please.
just have one new comment.
You had weighed in several times on
Well,
this.
this is new.
Okay.
New comment, meet your criteria. The manager indicated that he was down in Springfield, and the one question that I would have is, while he was in Springfield, did he discuss with our delegation the possibility of a capital bill that could include infrastructure projects like the ones that you're talking about will be funded through this tax hike? And then secondly, if we were able to, do we have a a list of projects that are ready to be requested as part of the capital bill, and if we were able to secure funding, would we then reduce these taxes that would otherwise go for these infrastructure improvements?
Mayor, I'd be more than happy to answer that. Again, the Public Works Committee, who has deliberated for years, is very focused, and again, I'm going to repeat them very publicly. We've talked about them here. 103rd Stormwater Management, a complete street project, which is before the Southwest Mayors Conference, and the Southwest Mayors Conference who has applauded the idea, but would love to see more money. That project, I think, would be a perfect example of a great capital project. You have another item that's before you right after this one that is continuing to look at stormwater drainage in the Stony Creek East Branch Basin. That's another excellent project. We have the Cicero project repaving from 95th Street to 87th. We have our continued bike lane and bike path implementation project. We have the 95th corridor plan. We have the Ridgeland corridor plan. We've had discussions about Southwest Highway and street improvements in concert with our regional water improvements. So I think the list that Oak Lawn has ready to go is an outstanding list. Thank you, Mayor.
Thank you.
Madam Mayor, can I also interject on that?
Yes.
Again, there's some fuzzy math here. Brian, what is the total cost to a resident for this increase?
What is the total cost?
Average.
The average cost to a resident in a multifamily home is about $25 a year. In a single-family home, like the one that I live in, is about $48.
Does that come anywhere
For the
near,
electric.
does that come anywhere near a 7.5% increase?
I don't know where that came from. But then you need to take that number and add the similar amount to the natural gas. So as I said, if you take a property tax increase to raise $2.5 million, it'll be about $155 a home, and this is gonna be less than 100.
The difference in dollars, the difference in percentage comes from when you compare the little baby numbers, the rate that we're charging, the old rate versus the new rate. It looks bad. When you look at the whole bill, it's about a 1% increase. That's the point.
Well, I get it, but I know that when there's numbers that are put out there that aren't, I'd like to figure out where the math came from the other numbers, but the point that I think does need to be addressed is, one of the questions was, if we come up with some federal money, or we come up with some state grant money, which we've been very good at getting that, then guess what this money can go for? It could go for retirement of pension debt. But at least we have the infrastructure budgeted and ready to go, and we will always look for state and federal money to continue on with those projects. So that's the total picture of what we need to do.
Thank you, Trustee Oliniechek. Any other discussion? Let's take that vote.
Trustee Stalker?
Aye.
Trustee Oliniechek?
Yes.
Trustee Desmond?
Yes.
Trustee Carberry?
Yes.
Trustee Vorder?
Yes.
And Trustee Streit?
No.
Motion passes 5-1.
Thank you. 19